Well. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Wish you a happy and healthy day after Thanksgiving, or happy Friday to all the normal celebrators out there, or sorry, non-celebrators out there. Plenty to talk about today after Bitcoin's good old Red Dildo Thursday. Must have been some very interesting conversations at Thanksgiving, I imagine, with everyone talking with the old family relatives saying, "Oh, how's that Bitcoin doing?" "No problem, Grandma. Just taking a few more red dildos to the face. It's been a good one. Welcome to Christmas. If you want some more Grammy bucks, I would love that to invest in some more magic corns." It's like, Jesus Christ, man, this is going to be fucking great. Anyways, all jokes aside, we got plenty to talk about. And, sorry. Grandma, no, just taking a few more red ones today, Grandma. Those grandma bucks going to really good fucking use, huh? Anyways, this market's the best. Anyways, yeah, so it is Friday. I would like to wish you a happy Friday. It is the end of the week. Doesn't mean shit, though, because Bitcoin's trading over the weekend, and I imagine that this one's going to be a quite volatile one. Anyways, putting the focus here on the CrownGen application, which we found at up.crowngen.net. And what do we see? We do see a few things. So first and foremost, open interest coming down quite a significant amount. We were just above about $3.25 billion coming into this week when Bitcoin was at the highs at about $19,000 or a little bit above $19,000, and now coming down all the way to $2.5 billion. This is actually rather important here because it would suggest that, well, like we probably already know, Bitcoin is, or at least a lot of the reason why this move is happening right now is actually longs taking profits as open interest does come down, price action coming down as well, and that would suggest that longs closing is producing this current structure. So that's actually very important to understand the long-term analysis of this asset, which is going to play into this video probably a little bit later, although I will say most of the long-term stuff for the weekend, and that is this. That is essentially well, this is still a macro bullish market, at least until proven otherwise, and likely this does produce another opportunity. Now, this is speaking on the long-term time frames. Does that mean that it's going to happen today? Is a low put in, is the low put in and a reversal put in on the same day? Probably not. No. In fact, if we go over historically speaking, probably going to take more than a month, maybe even up to 2 or 3 months, going off of history. Anyways, looking at Bitcoin dominance, what do we see? It's still kind of hanging around that low 62%. Does suggest that when we do see Bitcoin essentially move outside of the range, which of course we did see that by breaking the 18,800-ish region a couple days ago, I guess a couple of nights ago for myself over here in the Eastern European time zone, that would suggest that, well, we are seeing rotation still going on within this market, and that anytime Bitcoin does move outside of the range, aka when it's not consolidating, it's just generally not good for altcoins. And of course, altcoin versus US dollar, that's a completely different narrative there, but with Bitcoin coming down, they're going to follow in that regard as well. On the whole, obviously there's going to be, a few one-offs here and there, I imagine, but for the most part, things, do play in concert within this market, as does just the general world markets. What I think is actually very interesting over here, and you actually can't see it, or you can maybe just see the bottom portion of it, is the fear and greed index, which has only come down about 7 points. Actually, let's go look at it in the chart over here, from a 94 all the way down to an 86. So not that much of a move actually, as Bitcoin does shave off about $3,000 for the Thanksgiving day. And I love watching the YouTube videos on things, around this time as well, when Bitcoin does like a dump dildo party like this, and it's like people just come up with all sorts of reasons why Bitcoin price action moves. It's like, I don't know. These turkeys are really expensive this year. Everyone's taking profits. They need to buy more turkeys and gravy and all that good shit. It's like, what the hell? No, the reason why Bitcoin price action moves is because there is an imbalance of buyers and sellers. That's the only reason why things ever move ever. And anything and anyone who ever suggests otherwise is just, that is not based in reality. We can't know what each and every last person is doing exactly for exactly what reason, because, well, first off, we can't read minds. And second off, if you are a student of psychology, then you probably understand that they don't even understand their own reasonings as well. So at the end of the day, we can only go off of what is right in front of us. And looking at all the canaries in the coal mine right here, what do we do see? So the Bitcoin global funding rate, once again, was a damn good indication of a top being put in above 0.1%, actually got all the way up to 0.17 on the global funding rate right here, as you can see. And also the fear and greed index also getting up into the highest level that we've seen in the last few years, all the way up to 94, and sustaining within the extremely greedy zone for about a month. It was, some pretty good metrics in hindsight, obviously, and that coupled up with what we were looking for on the 3-day chart with regards to the Challenger bands did actually call the top to the T, and well, fair enough. You know, when you find something like that, just well, respect it, because it can well, can pay, as you see right there. Anyways, looking at the funny rate over here, it looks like FTX is actually still way the fuck up there, not 0.1%, but just seeing as it's the only one and not the other ones are kind of joining in that. In fact, all of them are kind of operating at par, or sorry, parity at 0.01%. There's not really, I don't really think that there's much to be made off of that. It was really when all of them kind of got up above or around that 0.1% where it was, you know, problematic, so to speak. So I do think that this very likely does lead into a greater pullback to kind of spoil the surprise right here. Anyways, I should also talk about the, hey, summer sale. What the fuck, Brian? This ain't summer. This is winter, I think, or at least it's fall or somewhere in there. But yes, we do have a sale going on for good old, what's it called? Black Friday. Hey, it is actually Black Friday today. So happy Black Friday. Be a consumer today. It's a lovely American holiday. But yes, we are doing 20% off of all the programs. You don't need any code, don't need anything like that. It's already built in, and it applies to all programs here. Also, the partner programs as well, of which we have Jackie's psychology program, which is a video program. And then he also has his group as well. Both of those are on sale, and of course, Mr. Morinfall's Pine Script Mastery. I can speak towards specifically my own as well. And what I would like to say is, you know, always watch the videos that accompany these things, because they're going to go in depth explaining who they're for and who they're not for. And for me, I don't need to sell these, so it's more important to me that you make the proper decision for yourself if this actually is relevant to you, and that will likely be revealed in these videos. However, I would say, you know, if you do want just an easy way to kind of disqualify yourself, or maybe qualify yourself as well, they're going to take a long time, and realistically, this is a long journey. And from what I've seen over the last 3 years almost now, typically takes people on average, if they are going to get to a successful way, consistently, that is, because that is the goal after all, it typically takes about a year to a year and a half of like consistent efforts, is what I've seen. Some people get there a little bit faster, some people never get there at all, but it typically comes down to, you know, what you put in is what you get out, and these are very, very long programs, these especially. This one over here, the Neophytes Initiation, is very, 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 very basic. However, if you are, you know, just if you really want like a handheld type thing, which is completely fine, then that would be the program for that. And of course, it would be, you know, it'd probably be a better place to start if you're unsure, because we will give you a discount that essentially equates to this price anyways if you do decide to go up to the full program, which, by the way, I've just added 2 more new videos to it this week, and I don't know, man, probably like around 10 for the whole year now. This is a legacy project for myself, so I will very likely continue to add things over time. The program technically is complete. I just like looking at it as like everything that I can disseminate in the most palpable way over time. So that's essentially the purpose of that. Mastery options, obviously focused towards options. Most people are not going to be interested in that at all, but that's actually probably one of the most important things in my opinion. And then of course we do have Caretakers RSI, which by the way is no longer an annual subscription. It is it's a lifetime purchase, and this applies retroactively. So hopefully I am as crystal clear as possible with this. Basically, this is to say if you ever have bought, or if you ever do buy the Caretaker RSI, it's for life. There's no extra things that you need to do. We've already retroactively applied this, so if you already did that, then no worries, it's yours for life until one of us dies, I guess, or I don't know. I guess Trading Views keeps on going on anyways, so fair enough. we'll see how that goes. Anyways, and also Caretaker actually, I think I'll save that surprise for later. All right, let's go back on over here. I want to follow up on kind of what we're looking for over the last couple of days. It's going to be obviously a bit of a hindsight for the people who are new here, but I do want to follow up for the people who have been here for the last couple months, because what we're looking for to denote a likely reversal did happen 1.5 days ago on the 3-day closure below the topside Challenger band for the first time in the last 2 months. This was kind of what we were looking at to denote when Bitcoin was likely to play out that greater pullback. And what do you know? The first target of $16,500 hit, not just hit, actually exceeded, as we do see it go another $300 down on most major exchanges. I see BitMEX go down to 620. I see GDAX down to 16.2. I see Stamp down to 16.2 as well. So a little bit of an overshoot right there, but overall, you know, the ranges do hold, and I'd essentially be looking for Bitcoin to kind of play out a range. We'll discuss that on the regular chart soon enough, but as it stands right now, I would be looking for a bounce again off this 16,500-ish level and to kind of play a range here for a little bit. However, the more long-term target for this sort of a signature would be, however, over time, by the way, not just today or tomorrow, but would be down to the 20 simple on this, which is currently just above 14,000 bucks. So I do still think that it's a strong potential that Bitcoin will ultimately go lower, but we are kind of in the first leg of this pullback. And let's just put things in perspective for a second here, because Bitcoin did, after all, go up about 90, almost 100% to the T right here, all the way from 10,000 bucks but yeah, about 10,000 bucks to just basically 20,000 bucks. So for all intents and purposes, I consider that a 2x right there, pretty much unabated the whole way through. No real pullbacks on the higher term timeframes. This is our first major pullback. So is the reversal going to also have a counter reversal on the same day? How likely is that? Very unlikely. How likely is it within the same week? Very unlikely as well. How likely is it within the same month? Now it becomes a little more likely. If we do go back into the history, and we do look at similar markets to this, namely the 2015 to 2018 rally right here. We do have several instances of similar kind of signatures. And as you can see, typically things after they do top out and do put in the next bottom typically takes, between about 4 to 8 weeks on average, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but just kind of count them out right here. High put in at the first closure below the top side Krown band right here. Holy fuck, that's a loud keyboard, by the way. It's a mechanical keyboard. And Elsa just punches that shit like crazy. She's loving it. All right, try not to break it. Anyways, we do see a move all the way down, and this happens over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the reversal weeks. Yeah, I don't want to go through the whole thing again because I've been, doing this all week, and we'll do like a full deep dive over the weekend. But you can cut this on your own as well, and I can just pull a surprise for you. It's usually around 4 to 8 weeks. This one over here about 8 weeks. This one over here about 3 weeks on the reversal. This one 4 weeks. This one about 6 weeks, I think. This one about 4 or 5 weeks as well. You get the point. Anyways, at the end of the day, we haven't even put in our first confirmed reversal on a weekly just yet. This is actually only happening on a 3-day thus far, but likely does lead into the weekly. And of course, today being the weekly closure, it's going to be the weekly closure for CMEs, not for spot price action. Obviously, that happens a little bit later on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And if we do close the weekly below the topside Krown band, I would feel a lot more confident with calling a greater move to the downside here. Maybe 14,000 to mid 14,000 bucks would be the next sort of stop that I'd be looking for before the next medium-term bounce and potential reversal. Although I do think that I would still be looking potentially a little bit lower than that. And as it stands right now, the topside Krown band on spot price action is literally exactly where we are right now. Well, not exactly where we are, but a few bucks under actually, or sorry, a few bucks over. So we're technically living below it right now. It is 17,311. That is going to be a humongous pivot going into the weekend here. Now we do have a bit of DeLorean here. And that is in CMEs because they will be closing for the week today being Friday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And the topside Krown band on CMEs is 17,550, currently trading 17,605. So it's right on the edge right there, right on the precipice. But if I do see any closure, even around, doesn't even have to close below, but if it's like, within 50 bucks of it, I would still be looking at this as, our next sort of medium-term top and going to work our way lower over the next few weeks, very likely. CME next target would be about 15,000 even, and then more long-term still somewhere down around like 13 or 13.5. And I would still put the major focus on the CME chart as that one just seems to be the best one as far as signals go. Two signals processed, it seems to be the most efficacious one. Like if I see a signal on CME, then it supersedes pretty much everything else that I'm looking at. However, we will be able to see this full clarity tonight, so we will have that information by tomorrow at the obviously today. But for myself, I'm going to go to bed, and I go to bed at like sometimes I go to bed at 8 p.m. But I usually shoot for 9, when I'm feeling really crazy, and so I'll be asleep, so I won't see until tomorrow. But for those of you in the Western Hemisphere, you'll be able to see today. So very cool. Anyways, so keep an eye on that. If that does happen, very, 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 very likely looking for a greater pullback here. And just looking across the board, do we have anything else to be aware of on these secondary charts? I think it's, well, actually, we do have a little bit of bearish divergence on the DMI plus right there, but this is a lot more obvious on spot price action. We did see the ADX loosen its strength. This is very, very important right here, while also turning down. Good. I mean, well, good for a pullback, more sustained pullback. And then we can go down to a daily as well. And this was the next piece that I'm looking for, and we did get it yesterday, actually. So while I do, while I would be looking for a range on Bitcoin to kind of transpire from where we currently are right now, basically between the same areas that we spoke about yesterday, 16.5 and 18,000-ish region. Basically between the 20 simple and the 10 simple on this chart right here. What we have done is something already pretty damning here. So while I do think that Bitcoin likely will get another test back up somewhere around 18,000, maybe even like slightly above 18,000, like 18.2, what we have done already yesterday was pretty damning here. We see multiple points of influence. First and foremost, we do see that Bitcoin obviously rejecting the topside trend band and then closing yesterday below the 10 simple, plus MACD twisting to the downside and getting momentum right there is going to be a damn good signal that, yes, you know, this is a little bit, this is an efficacious break, and that over time probably does get a little more continuation. The next piece of information that I'd really be looking for is for the DMI minus and DMI plus over here to show direction. And as you can see, the DMI minus is creepy crawling its way to the upside. Obviously, DMI plus didn't just, you know, come down. It actually had some nasty divergence here too, although I don't typically look at it for that reason, but you know, it's basically the same thing as an not the same thing as an RSI, but it's very similar to an RSI. We do see that the ADX also loosening its strength as well. So, you know, again, this is technically by definition a bullish pullback, but because we are dealing with very big numbers here, bullish pullback can, you know, mean fucking massive red dildos, you know, shish kebabbing your Angus, and Bitcoin can come, you know, potentially even all the way back down to, I mean, 11,000, 10,000 would certainly not be out of the question. However, I'm not saying that it's going to. It's just, I wouldn't be too surprised if we did see a wick down there and Bitcoin like bases out somewhere, you know, maybe around $14,000. But as it stands right now, the next piece that I would actually be looking for, the next drive, and I don't think that Bitcoin's ready to trend just yet, but if it were, what I would be looking for is a DMI minus to maintain above the threshold right here. Currently, I have it at a 22.5, which is rather aggressive to be fair, and then I want to see the ADX start strengthening as well. If that happens, I'd be looking for the next drive to the downside. Likely comes alongside a break of the 20 simple as well, and we probably will gun somewhere for upper $14,000 region if that were to happen. As it stands right now, I do want to go to our regular charts because that is what we were working off yesterday, especially during the Twitch stream, which those have been really, really fun. I just want to say massive thank you to everyone who has been coming out to those, because it's perfect, man. It's fucking perfect. It's exactly the way that I like to you know, handle my my daily trading. It's just, you know, when I'm waiting for trades, I'm just kind of, well, waiting for trades. I mean, what else are you going to do? Listen to an audiobook, talk a little bit of shit, and play a few games. Fun times. Anyways, like I said, I'll be doing those like every either Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I haven't decided just yet, but we'll set it in stone probably next week. Anyways, as it stands right here, working off the same chart that we were working off of yesterday, basically what we were looking for happened. Or I should not say that. I should not say that, because yesterday I did say, while I'm not necessarily looking for it, if Bitcoin does break 17,650, which it did on the 4-hour dildo right here, actually pretty much right after I closed that video, then I would be looking for a move down here. So technically, yes, it did play out what we were looking for, but I was, you know, I wasn't looking for this area to break just yet. However, this will create a new range, obviously. And as far as the short-term range goes, this is actually a little bit crazy here. This is actually, it's not just a little bit crazy, it's actually pretty fucking crazy. And that is this. The short-term range, the short-term range, that is, not the fucking medium term, but the short-term range currently is 17,650, the same area that we were looking at yesterday for the breakdown now becomes resistance. And to the downside would be 16,500-ish region on a closure. Now, if Bitcoin does break the short-term range to the upside, and could we use a 2-hour on this one? Probably could, yes, probably could. Then I would extend the target to about 18,200-ish region up here. That is where I actually am looking for on a greater bull trap. If Bitcoin does that, especially over the weekend, that would be really, 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 really wonderful for kind of helping with the long-term direction here. But this is classic right here, a little bit of distribution at the top. You do see volume kind of go into a bit of a lull, and then big volume spiking on the moves to the downside, big blocks being put up. And actually, I was looking at I was looking at Tony Stewart actually on Twitter. He's great. He's great if you follow options, and he was actually calling out that there was a big put buyer and a big call seller. I think it was $16,000 strike for the put buyer, and for the call seller, I think it was like the 21 or 22,000 call strike, and seller on the call side, and then you see big blocks being put up right here. What do? They pulled in the fucking conversion is what they did. That was a professional move right there. Very, 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 very well done. And most importantly, expiring in December, middle of December. So what does that tell us? That does tell us that we're probably going to range here for a little bit of time. That was probably one of the market operators, big positions being put on. And what probably happens next? Well, we'll probably decide on actual direction somewhere around mid-December. I don't think that Bitcoin's going to be breaking down below this level or breaking above this level right here anytime soon is what that would imply. And actually, to be fair, we actually are just a few days away from December anyways, so I don't know, maybe in like another couple weeks, so to speak. And typically after Bitcoin does play out a very intense move like this, what typically happens? Range for a little bit of time, resolution, a little bit later. And in this case right here, I'd essentially be looking for Bitcoin to ebb and flow on the short term between 17,650 and 16,500, the same areas that we were looking at yesterday on the Twitch stream. And if we do resolve above this region right here, I would extend that target another, like I said, about 500, 600 bucks. But this is the area that I've become really, really interested in potentially, not because it's guaranteed for a nice bull trap, but because it offers up a nice risk reward right there and a very easy way to manage risk above 18,250. This is obviously not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is further thing from financial advice. But as usual, I don't necessarily talk about my positions anymore. You can probably figure out what the fuck I'm doing. Anyways, okay, so let's go through the lower term time frame momentum oscillators. Holy shit, we're already 20 minutes into this video, and I'm just getting started, baby. Woo! God damn, it's gonna be a big Friday today. I'm fired the fuck up. I had 1 cup of coffee. All right, 4 hour Stokes popping back up here, looking nice and meaty. What do we see on 4 hour RSI? Not really getting too much off this. Gonna see a little bit of an ebb and flow, I imagine, between the bearish control zone and the neutral zone. Not much to make out of that right now. What's most important right here is historical volatility percentile literally hitting up to, oh dear God, man. I mean, that might as well be a 100 read right there, getting all the way up to 99.73. And then the most recent one, actually same read right there. Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, that is a humongous one. So what does that typically tell us? Typically tells us that we have found a range. We're going to go into we're very likely to go into a contraction phase from here, and a contraction phase within a 4 hour time frame range would again be between about 16,500 to the downside and 18,200 to the upside. No, I would not use 17,650 to the upside because that is more relevant for the extremely short term, and we're talking about extremes right now and here too. I'm curious what the 3 hours showing. I imagine it's going to be a little bit more in motion already, and yep, 3 hour Stokes already popping back up. Nice 3 hour RSI. Again, same thing. I'll just be kind of looking for it to kind of create a bit of a range right there and do a little bit of flip-flopping around. Same thing with HVP here too. So we do see so far all of the lower term timeframes in unison, and I imagine hopefully we see the same thing on the bi-hourly here as well. And what do we see? We see the exact same thing. We see bi-hourly Stokes popping back up, bi-hourly RSI doing the same thing, and same thing with historic volatility percentile, gonna very likely go into contraction phase. So this is the time to, at least in my opinion, be looking for a bit of a range, and obviously resolution points are very well documented here, so I don't think that it has to be anything really more than that. And looking at the hourly as well, we do see a bit of a flip-flop here as well, coming down actually, so the odd man out for this one thus far. A little bit of hidden bearish divergence. Has that already played out though, from 17,450 all the way down to 17. That's a $300 move on a fucking hourly signal. I think that it'd be relevant to say that that's likely played out. And already going into contraction phase over here as well. As you can see, the moving average get a negative slope as it does curl around. And what does that equate to? It equates to, again, very likely we're going to test, this side of the range. Very likely we're going to test this side of the range as well. Are we going to break it on the next test? Very unlikely, I would say. And which side are we most likely to test next? I don't have a strong proclivity on that. In fact, you do see the 2, 3, and 4 hour all suggesting a little bit of of upside potential here. So maybe it does test 17,650 first. That's not my call. I'm only interested in trades on this level and this level right here, not in between. So if I had to call it right now, is it more likely to to test the upside than the downside next? Probably yes, but then again, looking at just simple trend right here, Bitcoin is still making lower highs, and if I actually had to call it, I do think that personally speaking, this is not actually what the charts show, but just going off of past prior history, I'd actually be looking for another test back down to 16,500 first, and then play out a bounce bounce, and then find the high of the range, of which I'm postulating is somewhere around about 17,650 for the short term. And again, any sort of a break above here, I extend that move another 500 to 600 bucks to 18,200 to 18,250, and then we'll come back after that. Above 18,200 though, I actually could get bullish again. In fact, I should speak about what would make me wrong. What would make me wrong? What would make me wrong about looking at this as like a major high that is unlikely to be overtaken within like the next, week or two at the very least. And basically it'd be that. As long as Bitcoin is closing 4-hour dildos below 18,250, zero chance of, or at least zero reason to be, at least in my opinion, bullish. And looking for new highs on this run. The most obvious way would be essentially waiting for a 4-hour closure above 19,200. Is that very helpful? No, not really. So fair enough. I think 18,250 likely does get it. And then if I cut it to the middle, 18,750 would, 18,800, which was the prior breakdown area from earlier this week. Well, I guess it was only like 2 days ago now, like right here, was also a damn good signal as well. So perhaps that actually could be a bit of a better way, a bit of a more aggressive way. But I'm in no hurry to get long once again for a long-term trade. I do think that this is likely to take its time and likely to, sideways and down, as the name of the game typically does go. Now, here's the thing, though. Again, macro term, I am not bearish in any way, shape, or form. This chart right here is... This chart right here is fucking Craig bullish, baby. It's looking good. I don't see anything wrong with this as it is. Now, if we were to close, this monthly below 14,000 bucks, yeah, we could talk about one of the biggest fake outs of all time. But for right now, is that what's happening? No, and we're living another 3,000 bucks healthily above that. Then again, Bitcoin sneezed yesterday, dropped about 3,000 bucks. So there you go, But all jokes aside, no, I'm not bearish on this chart in any way, shape, or form. Long term, this is more or less an incredibly constructive and bullish read. But this is a monthly, so it operates on a monthly schedule, not on a fucking daily or God forbid a fucking hourly or any lower time frame than that. So fair enough. Anyways, moving on to the medium term time frames. Let's check out what they're doing right here, right now. We see 12-hour Stokes also calling that big old dump dildo party as well, breaking the regression on this. Hey, show me my charts. There we go. Breaking the regression on it on the 24th. Yes, indeed. And then boom, straight nosedive down. I don't want to say exactly as we said, but well, fair enough. And 12-hour RSI, what do we see here? Any potential divergences going on? No, not really. Bearish divergence at the top, 1, 2, 3 drives on 1, 2, 3 highs right there. Nice. Definitely overshot the first target though, I will say, and going for the deeper one. And what I would essentially just look at right here from a moving average perspective is a range to evolve from the 21 to the 55, and then we probably resolve that maybe like the first or second week of December. Something like that would be would be rather normal from a historical standpoint. 12-hour Jewel also calling the dump right here too on the 25th of November at 1400, which was actually right. That actually did get the ultimate high on this one. And what was that after the curl down though? Yeah, it was. Okay, fair enough. Actually, typically the Jewel does not get the ultimate high on these runs. It typically gets like the next drive down. In this case, it actually did get it, but that is a 12-hour, so it's usually the daily that's a little bit of a laggard. 12-hour historical volatility percentile, again, heading up to extremes here. What's most likely to happen right now? Contraction phase, sideways, and then work our way down maybe over time. Looking at the daily over here, what do we see? Daily Jewel is, oh my god, that is like the longest warning signal of all time. I'm curious what it looks like more so on the CMEs. And yes, finally switching around a little bit to a swell posture. I'm curious what the 12-hour looked like right here. Yeah, 12-hour did a damn good sell, actually a little bit. Yeah, this one actually a little bit better, in fact. Yeah, right here. So it did get, it did not get the ultimate high right here, but did get the drive down. And that's what we were looking for. We really want to see it on CMEs. Finally fucking got it. And there you go. Anyways, back onto the daily on spot. And what do we see here? This is actually of interest. Bitcoin could very easily put in some hidden bullish divergence if it wants to. Where's our last low? Our last low would be, it's kind of hard to decide on these ones. I would say this one right here, actually. 15.8, and yeah, we were much higher on RSI right there, so it will be potential. So Bitcoin very likely will get a nice bounce off this level, and basically we are kind of bouncing off the 21 exponential moving average as it is right now. And so, you know, similar to what we spoke about earlier, I'd basically be looking for a range between the 21 and the 10 simple on daily closures. I am in no way, shape, or form bullish, looking for new all-time highs or just new highs on this run, as long as we are below the 10 simple on a daily closing basis. And, you know, if I had to call it right now, probably 55 does get the next dump dildo party all the way down to the low $15,000 region. Other than that, do we have anything to speak about on the 2-day? 2-day headed up to one of the highest levels it's ever seen in the history of Bitcoin, only overdone by a couple runs in 2017, turning down at the same points. Nice. 3-day, I imagine the same thing as well. Yep, nice, and turning down here too. Actually, technically has not officially turned down, will officially turn down tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, assuming that we don't rally back up above 18,500. So fair enough. 3-day RSI problematic, back down below the critical zone, and more importantly below the exponential, which was actually rejected at the critical zone. That's a damn good signal right there too. Fucking classic. Same thing on the 2-day. In fact, the 2-day even, well, it's not even going to register as bearish divergence because this is not classified as a local high, and technically speaking, that would be correct, or at least it would be kind of difficult, especially with my settings right now. So there you go. Anyways, we're kind of just repeating what we already know here, but it's good to see confluence, and I do want to check out some of the lower term timeframes on CMEs here. Let's see, just kind of perusing around really quickly. Yeah, if I had to call it right now, I do think that Bitcoin does come back down and grind out, the mid $16,000 region, and then we try another bounce to the upside and probably gun somewhere for the mid $17,000 region. But that's personal opinion, and that is not technical analysis, which I should differentiate. All right, 30 minutes in, let's go talk about traditional markets, of which futures should be trading once again. Yes, indeed they are. We said Boolah-ish, and I'd still be Boolah-ish. Looking for a retest of the prior all-time high. In fact, we're very fucking close at 12.4, and probably into next week or into December, I'd be looking for new all-time highs. This is a very strong read right here. Curious what, weekly momentum also is popping back up, defending against the bullish control zone. Very, very nice. And I'd essentially be looking for this hidden bullish divergence read over here to bring this back up towards the upper echelon of the bullish control zone. So looking very, 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 very nice here and very interesting. Hey, what happened to all those correlation boys? Don't you want the correlations now? Hey, what's going on there, sir? What the fuck's going on there? What's the narrative today? I need to be bullish, sir. I need some more hopium, baby. Fill me up. Fill me motherfucking up. What about SPY futures? Same thing. I'd be looking for a retest of the prior high. I mean, we're pretty much already there, and then new all-time highs coming into December as well. Weekly RSI, very, 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 very constructive here as well. I like it. I like it a lot. What else do we want to look at? Stocks weren't trading yesterday, obviously, so not much to look at there. Do we want to look at like the usual suspects? Link, oh my God, Link did head down to, no, I think I said $9.50 target would be the next one to the downside. Yeah, so we didn't quite get there. Again, at the end of the day, most crypto is going to be trading with Bitcoin anyways, so I wouldn't really be looking for the next move to the downside or the upside until Bitcoin actually does it as well. But the next major target to the downside, the next major basin area is going to be just below $10, somewhere around about 9.75. And if I had to call it right now, yeah, I do think that it will hit it over time, but over time, probably means a couple weeks. Then again, a lot of the time I say something like that and then it gets hit the next fucking hour, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, same thing on the lower term time frames right here as well. What about Butyrol? 525, get a nice little bouncy bounce back up. And would I still say a 450 target, or actually 420? Perhaps yes. Yeah. Bitcoin comes down to like $14,000, and yes. In fact, I didn't even really talk about the next downside targets if Bitcoin breaks the downside range. Oh, baby, I should probably do that. For full picture analysis. Break below 16.5 on a 4-hour closure. I'm targeting upper 15,000 actually for the next short-term bounce, but the next medium-term bounce, yeah, it's still going to be about 14.8, we'll call it, or 14.9. Yeah, upper $14,000 is what I ultimately be looking for with a bounce in between. Okay, cool. And I think that this is actually a good time here. Actually, let's go check out Caretaker's new magic. This is, I believe, he has given me the final green light for the version that he wants to go up. Jesus Christ, man, there is a shit ton of things going on right here. Let me take this off. There we go. And it's well, it is as it is, man. It is as it is. Looking pretty damn good right here. Do we see anything of note right now? It's basically saying the same range as what we just looked at, so it's very good to have that confluence. 17.5 to the upside, 16.8 to the downside for the very short term, but that is going to likely expand from here. See what it says on an hourly, and I imagine that's going to align up with our greater range. And what do you know? There it is, perfectly done. 17.9 to the upside versus 16,000 to the downside. Getting our current lows along the same structure. Very good for the confluence, and lovely. So I'll have more information about that over the weekend. Want to record some live trades with it. Want to record an instructional video on it, and then we'll get to work on that as well. So for all the people who have been asking about that, yes, it will be ready soon, but I want to make sure that it's all well and done. And of course, it needs to have like an explainer alongside of it as well. So there you go. Okay, alrighty, back on a Bitcoin. Let's start to wrap this bitch up. And what do we have to say about this? Well, as far as this looks like, we are still kind of operating off the same ranges. 17,650 to the upside versus 16,500 to the downside. If I had to call it right now, I would be looking for short-term Bitcoin to come back down and test the downside at around, mid $16,000 region. However, I'm not looking for a break of it. Based off of historical volatility percentile on just about all time frames on the lower end, 4, 3, 2, you get the picture, versus 12-hour over here. More likely that we just range for a little bit between that 16.5 and 17.7-ish level or 17.6 level, and then resolution maybe around early to mid December. And if Bitcoin does break back above, let's call it 17.650, the same resolution point that we saw yesterday, I would look for an extension of about $500-600, so very tradable, all the way up to our next level, 18,250. That is the traditional bull trap area. I'd be incredibly defensive within that region, and as long as we're below 18,250, there is zero reason at all for me whatsoever to be immediately bullish looking for new highs on this run. Doesn't mean that it can't happen, just that is my decision point. Just like on the run to the upside, I was unwilling to call a top and unwilling to be bearish until Bitcoin closed that 3-day delta below the topside Krown band. This would be the same thing, going in the opposite direction. So something that needs to kind of keep me adherent to my own plan, and that's what I'll be using. Of course, you're free to use whatever you want, because I'm not your fucking master or anything like that, nor do I want to be. And to the downside over here, if Bitcoin were to break 16.5 to the downside, which I don't think that is going to do it at least today or tomorrow, then I would be targeting a short-term move down to about 15.9, a bounce very likely implied around 15.9, also around the last prior consolidation breakout that we saw in this region, also the 4-hour 200 moving average as well. And I would be looking for a short-term bounce there, but I do not believe that things would stop there. Ultimately, things would very likely head on down to the 377, the last base of the last formation right here, as you can see, which would be around upper $14,000 region, like 14.8 to 14.9 region, and then I'd be looking for a greater bounce off that, and then I want to come back to it after that. But for right now, like I said, I'm really not looking for any of those, either of those two things to happen. I'm looking for a range to evolve from this region for a little bit of time, and keep an eye on CMEs today. That's going to be the big one. CMEs can really do the next big piece of price action information, and in fact, I'll leave you on this because it will close tonight at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, and if we see any sort of a closure below the topside Krown band, that likely transpires into what we see on spot price action, because it typically almost always precipitates that, and I'd be driving targets down to that low $15,000 region over the next couple weeks or whatever it ends up being, and then we can come back to it after that. So with that in mind, I would like to wish you the best once again. Happy Black Friday, happy day after Turkey Day, or happy just regular Friday for for the people who don't really seem to give a hoot and holler about any of that. I'd like to wish you well once again. Take care, and until next time.